Start the session with Dr. Pachegaonkar sir, a very senior academician, clinician, and research-oriented personality who has worked almost many states of India, and today he is with us. Sir, we are very happy to welcome you. Now I request our immediate past president, Dr. Chaitali Kulkarni, to welcome as well as introduce Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar sir. Please, Dr. Chaitali.
Thank you very much, President Dr. Shripad Hegde sir. Thank you, Dr. Patel sir, for taking us to a divine level
Chiran.
and starting the seminar in a very auspicious way. Thank you, Patel sir.
Just Chaitali Pachegaonkar sir hellodrappa.
Sir, I think he got signed out, logged out.
Yeah, that's what I am not seeing him. Please check it. Otherwise, I will call him.
Yes, sir. You can contact him.
Dr. Chiran, just check Facebook once.
Yes. It is live on.
Hi, Charan.
Yes, sir. Pachegaonkar sir is here.
Okay.
Did you join?
Yeah, you continue your welcome speech.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So on behalf of Karnataka Qualified Homeopathic Doctors Association, I welcome you all for today's national webinar by two eminent speakers. One is Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar and other is our beloved President Sir, Dr. Shripad Hegde sir. So today's topic for Dr. Pachegaonkar sir's seminar is quality study of clinical cases. And our Hegde sir's topic is observational study to validate the homeopathic treatment of Bell's palsy. First and foremost, I welcome to our President Sir, Dr. Shripad Hegde sir, who has given us such a great momentum to a KQHDA webinar series, who have started last year, 1.5 years over now, right, sir? Almost more than 14 to 16 sessions are done, and we are going with a great speed. Thank you, sir, for starting this KQHDA webinar series. So I invite you for today's webinar, sir. I invite Dr. H.L. Swami, sir, our chairman. I welcome Dr. B.D. Patel, sir, our patron. I welcome our secretary, Dr. Shubha, and treasurer, Dr. Trupti. So Dr. Hegde sir has given me a great opportunity to formally to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar.
Dr. Chaitali, by the same time, you invite all the other members of KQHDA, life members and other participants.
Sir, yes, sir, definitely. I was about to say it in the end, but it's okay. All of you are welcome for today's webinar, national webinar. So it is definitely a delight, sweet and delight treat for us, for our ear and brain, that these two eminent speakers will grill our knowledge, since they both are teacher, preacher, and both are a type of personalities called, you can say, as Guru Warrior. So let us today's seminar enjoy. I welcome all of you for today's seminar. Now I will formally introduce our today's first speaker, Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar sir. I don't think so that this personality needs any information to everybody who is he, or informally, formally I have to introduce him, but then too I will introduce him. Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar sir, he is a director of Sri Aurobindo Center for Homeopathy. His qualified MD in Organon of Medicine and Homeopathic Philosophy. He is a faculty member for postgraduate studies in homeopathy and guide for PhD in Maharashtra University of Health Sciences. He has also worked as a principal at JK Homeopathic Medical College, Latur in India. Dr. Pachegaonkar sir has presented many papers at national and international conferences. He has been instrumental in developing homeopathic therapeutics for animals through an NGO, Hanuman Education Society, Ambezogai. The government of Maharashtra, India has recognized his work on veterinary homeopathy by awarding him a special medal for rural services. So this is our today's great speaker, Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar. Sir, today's forum and dais is yours, sir. Dr. Uttareshwar Pachegaonkar, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaitali. I was very glad that before 2 years, I have been introduced to all of you. You are almost
Yes,
like
sir.
60 persons from Karnataka. The biggest gathering was there, and out of 150, 60 were from Karnataka. So I'm proud, and Dr. B.D. Patel has been leading the team, and he has wonderful team there working. And it's really an opportunity for me to share my clinical experience with you. See, always we say we shall go with the basics because many people might misunderstand today's presentation. Because what I want to stress is today I would be talking on utility of a drainage remedy or a tissue remedy in our homeopathic management. And it's a very delicate topic. So before that, we will see the essentials. Like before every yoga session, we conduct some essential elements of prayers and getting prepared for that. Like that, we'll have some sort of a preliminary baseline information about homeopathic prescribing. I shall just share my screen. So I think the screen is available for everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
So like this is a
Sir, you can make it full screen by pressing slideshow.
Expand, sir. Full screen one.
yes.
Yes.
So but this is like a definition of health, which is very broad. Even allopathic school now has been adopting this definition, which our homeopathic school has proposed before 200 years. So it's a dynamic state with harmonious functioning at physical, mental, social, and spiritual levels of being. Here, what we call a vital being also is added in this. And again, like this is what we are following according to Organon. So first 7 slides are preliminarily for introduction of Organon for our clinical practice, and this is what it is. Like aim of the physician, according to second aphorism, is rapid, gentle, and permanent cure based on comprehensible principles. Then as a third aphorism suggests you that here the knowledge of physician has to be like knowledge of disease in general, knowledge of disease in particular, the drug, knowledge about drugs or remedies, and then knowledge about the principles which help us in matching the drug and the natural disease. And naturally the preparation, dose, repetition of the drugs, and then obstacles in cure like miasms or even prevention of the diseases as fourth aphorism indicates. Then the real task comes that the physician needs to have these following weapons. Like first is case taking. It's an examination of the patient, then analysis of the case, and then based on that, we have to go for management. So these are the basics. And after that, here, the physician knows how to define the problem. If at all they are like not only along with the natural disease, what are the other problems which make the person predisposed to the disease phenomena, and therefore problem definition, and we should know how to resolve the things. Then the therapeutic solution, where we come to the remedy and repeat the doses, and even during follow-up we rationally go for the series of remedies as the things get unfolded. And of course, with that, the auxiliary mode of treatment, where like we need, like we advise sun bath for vitamin D3 deficiency or something like that. And then naturally the follow-up criteria and expectations we have to arrive at, so that during follow-up, we must know like what results we expect from the remedy. So these are the basics. And along with that, again, the dietic, what suggestions we give with the regimen. Now let us come to these area. Like here in homeopathy, naturally, many schools have started taking one core of the clinical practice, and they started like there one school came where the mental symptoms alone were stressed. So there is a school where they say even if the case of injury comes, you can't go blindly to arnica or natrum sulph or symphyton depending upon the type of injury. You have to just take mental symptoms. They even don't advocate giving calendula for local dressing. They say you just treat the person on the basis of mental symptoms. I don't want to name the school. Then there is another school, they say it is a predictive school where you must predict what will happen. So this again is very much practical, because we definitely can predict what would be, it's like a mathematics. So, but this is definitely Hahnemann himself, even Kent, even Nash has pleaded it, but definitely there the school has come with the name predictive school. Then one more school came where the delusions and awareness, like delusion is a disease and awareness is a health, and then all sensations alone will guide you to the remedy. But definitely there have been wonderful cures with all of these people. Then what we call is, there is one school where they just study the evolutionary totality. This is like a Keynesian school, or many people like Margaret Taylor, even Nash has pleaded it. So it's a evolutionary totality of the person has to match with the remedy. And then another school, which again came with the name essence of totality, like essence of a remedy, it is taken, and based on that you give the remedy. And definitely from Greece, this school has become very popular with this theme. And then one more school, which is a popular school all over the world, from especially Kolkata it originated, it's a Keynotes. But we have to understand that all these schools mean the just same thing they describe from different angles. So it's like again, like blind man describing elephant, blind man describing elephant, because they are aware of only one part of elephant. That way they describe same way this, but in reality, all these things mean the same. Because when we say keynote, it is not one symptom. It has to be the key which opens the whole case. It has to be the particular symptom which is, individualizing that case for that remedy, and then only it can be called as keynote. So this way we have been thrown into practice. So here the concept of this drainage remedy I heard for the first time in 1975, when there was an international conference at Delhi, and direct disciple of Kent, Dr. Piri Smith had come, and he pleaded this concept that time. Of course, many people, many books are mentioning it, and they said that some people called it like satellite remedy, or tissue based remedy, or organ remedy. So these were the names given to this, but they used drainage remedy as a preparation for the platform of the remedy. See, we have to understand that when we mean totality of the symptom, we mean that whatever evolution of disease, whatever picture of the disease is evolved in the person till date has to be studied. Now, what is the totality and what is the present totality in the person? Whether say, like, let us take an example of constipation is a component of totality. Now the person won't be able to give you exactly date from which the constipation has come. So like that, so definitely we will take up that last 20 years, this person is constipated. So it's a present totality. Now there are some phenomena which have occurred preceding constipation and they may be directly related to it. So definitely even the past history also needs to be considered as a component of totality. Not only the past history, we have to consider even the family history because it is again related. So we have to see the whole family tree. So the present totality, the past history of complaints as well as the family history of complaints together will comprise the totality. Now in this totality, when we work out this totality, we fail to understand whether this is a proper time to give the constitutional remedy or the remedy based on totality. See, you must have seen there are warnings given like our pointers to common remedies, that therapeutic book. There, the one tip is given that Natramur, even if it is a remedy for the person, during headache, if you give, it aggravates. What does it mean? That when during acute attack, if you give Natramur, definitely that if it is a Natramur case, it will aggravate. So the best policy is to give an acute remedy and then go for Natramur when it is a peaceful phase. So this way there are instances where you cannot give the so-called constitutional remedy unless the platform in that constitution is prepared to bear with the activity or dynamism of the remedy which is indicated. So we have seen many instances where if you give directly a remedy with seemingly indications in it, and definitely there would be aggravation, undue aggravation, and that aggravation we say, like Kent has mentioned sometimes, that if you give partially similar remedies, of course in a different context, a partially similar remedy, and if it appears to be a wrong remedy which does not match with the susceptibility of the person, maybe that side effect of homeopathic remedies will not be, cannot be antidoted or remedied. So we have to be very careful, give a constitutional remedy just like that. So what we started doing is we started giving tissue based remedies or so-called drainage remedies. Of course there has been a lot of literature on this, like for skin they say anacardium is a wonderful drainage remedy. Even if sulfur is indicated, we do give anacardium as a drainage and then go for sulfur. Otherwise sulfur, we have seen that some many times it aggravates if it is directly given. So we have to be careful. So is the case with so many remedies, like even lycopodium, even calcarea carb. Like I have seen one case I took, and I took it for 2 days, 2 hours every day. And after that, we were working out a calcarea carb as a remedy. And then that person, when we were discussing among ourselves, the person told that, so sorry, I forgot to mention you that for 3 years I have taken calcarea carb 200 weekly dose. One doctor from Kolkata had prescribed. And here we find that the person had absolutely calcarea like, complaints developed. So definitely we have to be very careful with the constitutional remedies, and therefore we started adopting this policy. Now we don't call them quick prescriptions. Actually, like genus epidemicus, it's not a quick prescription. Genus epidemicus is something which we derive after studying few initial cases in details. We verify that these remedies are effective in that acute illness, especially in pandemics, especially in epidemics. If the remedy is useful, later you don't need to take the case completely like mental, past history, present history, just an acute totality and give this genus epidemicus, and we can give. So these acute quick prescriptions are very much helpful in acute exacerbations or acute diseases, whether they are pandemic or maybe sometimes you get acute exacerbation of the chronic disease. They are very much useful, and even in injuries, we definitely go for quick prescriptions, and it has really helped. I remember there was a case which was admitted in Pune. The person met an accident and he had a head injury, subdural hematoma was there, and that was drained, but he lost his voice. He was not able to speak after that. And he was admitted in hospital, and his brother-in-law phoned me that this is what can you give homeopathy. And we gave natrum sulph. I did not have chance to take the case on phone. I did not take the personality, and I gave natrum sulph based on the concussion, extradural hemorrhage, everything was there. And natrum sulph helped him, and within 3 days, the person started speaking. So there are innumerable cases where based on local pathology, causation, if you give these quick prescriptions, they do help. I won't say that it is a shortcut. You don't need to take the case. No, but where it is not possible to go for case taking completely, you can definitely go for these prescriptions. Now let us take some illustrations. Now, this is the case which we had before 12 years. And during our OPD hours, this lady was brought to us by villagers. They were around 20 kilometers village from our place. And the case goes like this, that this lady was taken to one hospital in Solapur, and she had started getting gangrene. And they did the color Doppler study, and they found out that there is a thrombus in the main artery, in femoral artery. There was a thrombus, so that popliteal artery was not getting proper blood supply. The foot was definitely, it was a wet gangrene case. She was already in fever and agony, and the attending doctor said, in Ashwini Hospital in Solapur, you can see the letterhead. They told that this lady won't be, she can't survive after surgery. We have to do amputation from hip, below the hip, and which is not possible at this age. So nothing doing, we can't do anything. And this lady, she was being taken to her native place as helpless. They just gave in. And the tempo driver suggested that in our village, one case was helped like this by homeopathy. Why don't you try homeopathy? And then they said, okay, we will try as a last resort. And she was brought to us. Imagine, she was already like 3 days were lost in the hospital. She had tremendous pain with the wet gangrene and foul smelling discharge from the food was there. And she was brought to us. So no question of taking the case, like how was her childhood and what was it, everyone. And the whole family had just given up. They given up the hope. They said, just because this driver suggested, we have brought. And we gave her remedies based on the pathology. The first remedy we gave, because the diagnosis was very clear. So we gave her Symphytum 3x, then we gave Hypericum 2x, then we gave Cicalcor 3x. So the remedies which give clotting, then the lack of blood supply, and the terminal part was getting, so with this, and that too with local dressing of Calendula, Echinacea, and Symphytum. And we gave hourly doses of 5 drops each. And I tell you, you won't believe, you see, we have seen that wet gangrene is most dangerous. So body in some cases can control it, and that what we call dry gangrene, like line of demarcation comes. And this is what happened. Within 1 month, this dry gangrene came, the line of demarcation. And then imagine we had a repeat color Doppler study, and the collaterals had developed, and the circulation was partly, revived. And then at this stage, I suggested that anyway, this foot is mummified. Now line of demarcation is there, and here surgeon can do wonderful job. And this part which after the line of demarcation was amputated, and she survived very well. No painkiller, no antibiotics, and no constitutional prescription. It was only these remedies which were given in drop doses. Meanwhile, many of you are working in medical college now. Coincidentally, we have a local medical college in Ambajogai, and the surgeon who was dean of medical college, he demonstrated this case to all students, telling that such cases of line of demarcations nowadays don't come to us. Either they die or they get their limb amputated when they have wet gangrene. This is the first case in his lifetime he could see that the line of demarcation occurred without giving even one dose of antibiotics later or no painkillers. And this lady survived. So we can go for the next case also. This is another case. This is a young lady around 48, 49. She had breathlessness, and when she was examined, the cardiologist said that your efficiency, that ejection efficiency count is only 25%. They say that it is really dangerous, and we can't help it in this case. And here we just gave organ-based remedies. We gave Crataegus 3x, Strophanthus 6x, and 5 drops thrice a day we gave. And of course we gave Baraita muriaticum as a remedy because of her symptoms like throat complaints and all. And with this, we see the color Doppler study, and after 6 months from 25 it came to 38, her efficiency 38 it came. January we started treatment, June it came like this, and just see in October it crossed 50, which came to normal. Even the cardiologist who was attending, they were wondering, this is first case in our lifetime that this efficiency, ejection efficiency has come to normal. So what I'm trying to tell you is, see, as an orthodox physician, I would suggest that this is not the complete cure. This is not a complete cure. Rather, some critical study would indicate that it is a clear-cut suppression. The complaints are suppressed. It is not a radical cure, but at the same time, I would say the person has gained a good energy, good vitality, or what we call the person has gained such a vitality where the person will be able to respond to our constitutional remedy. So my suggestion is that you give constitutional remedy, you give anti-miasmatic remedy wherever there is a block, but don't hesitate to give local tissue remedies for such complaints where the organs are involved, when tissues are involved, and where the concrete gross pathology is there at tissue level. Don't expect that constitutional remedies alone will take up every cure. So don't hesitate to use local remedies based on the causation or based on the pathology which is indicating. And there are innumerable cases like we have seen, like in hemorrhoids, we have seen, this case, it was a wonderful case. Actually, we had this case came to us in Bede College when I was in charge of post-graduation there. And the person said that my piles have recurred after surgery. And so I want to go for homeopathy. And hardly 3 months earlier, he was operated. Then I just took the complete history. And after taking the history, he gave a very typical, symptom where he said, now doctor, what has happened that I just got urging for stools. And when I went for passing stools, just a clot came. So instead of stools, just a huge clot came. You know, this type of description is never there in hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids is a rectal bleeding, and there why such a huge clot should be formed. So I told, well, let us get your thing examined by proctoscopy. So we had a visiting surgeon there. So I called the surgeon. Somehow the surgeon said, today I can't come. He was out of station. So I called this person that, okay, you take 1 week's medicine and come after 1 week and we will get it examined. And after 1 week, when that appointment came, he sent his mother-in-law. He sent his mother-in-law, and mother-in-law was asking for follow-up medicine. I said, no, I can't give. I wanted him to be examined. And she misunderstood. She said, see, doctor, we wanted to come to your private clinic, but somehow he did not have time. And therefore, we have come to the college clinic. But we really wanted to come to your private. I said, you are misunderstanding. It's nothing to do with the college clinic or my personal clinic. I want him to be examined by surgeon because it seems that he has a CA, a cancer somewhere inside. And then with that gravity, she immediately called him. And very next day, when we examined with proctoscopy, there was a mass little above the rectum in the descending colon. There was a mass, cancerous mass. And here we started giving like drainage remedies. For CA rectum, we have Ruta as a remedy for colon. Ruta has affinity for colon. So we started giving Ruta 6x, Thuza 3x, like Powell's group remedy, like we could call it. Like our Banerjee protocol has become very popular nowadays. So we gave him like this. And looking at his personality, we gave him Lycopodium. So, and this person now, it is almost like 25 years now. Now he's doing wonderfully well. Of course, that later they got it operated and all. But you know, we diagnosed it, we gave the medicine, and he is absolutely fine. Last 25 years, he doesn't have complaint at all. But even I was wondering, these surgeons, they had operated him for hemorrhoids before 2 months and they did not detect. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we as a homeopaths, we should always take history, go for diagnosis, diagnose the case at tissue level, the pathology also, and based on pathology, definitely that should be one of the major components of our totality. And that really helps us. There are innumerable examples like this. I have seen this perianal fistula. Perianal fistula has, you know, been so common, and funniest part is this perianal fistula is a very, you know, worth studying. I have a case of rheumatoid arthritis. A young boy at the age of 18 got affected with rheumatoid arthritis. He was treated by the so-called rheumatologists and immunologists up to the age of 23, 24, and then he was brought to us. Now, when we started him, he started responding. We kept him admitted in our Bede hospital for 6 months, and he was all right. And then we said, now you can come once in a month. And then he was almost like rehabilitated. And later he stopped coming. And after 1 year, again with the relapse of rheumatoid arthritis, he came. Now, just we took the history of 1 year, and then he said, see, when I stopped your treatment, that time only earlier, I realized that I had developed a perianal lesion, and that was like a sinus or fistula, and it was emitting pus. And I thought it is not related to my arthritis. So he got it treated locally by a surgeon. And the moment fistula was sealed or closed or cured, his rheumatoid arthritis relapsed. And then we convinced him that in future, if at all you get similar thing, don't treat it locally. So we again started treating him for rheumatoid arthritis, his perianal fistula did come back and his rheumatoid arthritis got cured. So definitely here the homeopathic principle of totality applies, but definitely local management becomes necessary. See, this perianal fistula is maintained as a vent by the body in general, the tendency is there. But at the same time, the complications arise because of muscle plasticity in the buttocks, where with the pressure of sitting, with the gravity person is sitting, the capillaries don't supply blood properly, and that's the pathogenesis which gives rise to or maintains this perianal fistula. So we gave acid sulf 12x, ruta 6x, echinacea 2x, and very rarely once in a fortnight silicea, because even the epithelial lining in the perianal canal, fistula canal, also leads to, it works like a seal foreign body, and therefore silicia also helped, and it gave wonderful results. Because we have limited time, I can tell you the, like for nocturnal aneurosis, like equisetum, it is like a drainage remedy for urinary bladder, the Staphysagrina and Sarsaparilla. Then even in rheumatoid arthritis, we give Bryonia, Ledempal, Pulsatilla, Thuja 3x and Ruta 6x, but not all the remedies together. Because again, a drainage also will be different to be, because, and like what constitutional remedies indicated. See, like if it is Lycopodium, which is indicated, definitely Berberis vulgaris, Anacardium, Pulsatilla like remedies would be indicated. Then this spondylitis, if like any pathogenesis with the pathology in the spinal, this thing, or injuries, spinal injuries, we definitely go for Hypericum, Ruta, Staphysagrina, and in some cases Valeriana. Not that you have to give combination, it is not necessary. You can give one or two remedies like this. Even in calcaneum spur also we have given, of course, along with the exercise. In acid peptic disease also we give these as a drainage remedies along with the constitutional remedies, where the duodenal ulcer, we have seen that it heals, like Symphytum 2x, Hydrastis canadensis and alfalfa. These are the remedies which definitely help us in treating acid peptic disease. Even in tonsillitis, routinely what we do is constitutional remedy, maybe antimiasmatic tuberculinum, it can be even Beritacarb, or it can be Calcarea force, or it can be Merck iodide, whatever. But with that, we definitely give Echinacea 2x and Phytoleuca 2x as a drainage remedy, and it helps wonderfully well. Then even in toothache also, along with the constitutional remedies which we have mentioned later, we give Plantago majors as a local application. We ask the person to rinse mouth with 5 drops of Plantago majors for 2 minutes in water and then gulp it. Then Staphysagrina 6x and Hypericum 2x. Especially the people who have undergone root canal treatment, we give Staphysagrina and Hypericum, because the root canal treatment definitely involves a puncture or nerve injury. So same in fibroid uterus also. These are like remedies where Milefolian and Thapsibursa pasteuris, we give them like SOS for DUB, if it is secondary to fibroid uterus. And then hepatitis. Definitely, I remember this hepatitis is a case, where I confronted in the beginning of my practice. When I started practicing in Ambajogai way back in 78, within my first month of my practice, one patient was brought to me who was very bad alcoholic cirrhosis case. He was given 18 blood transfusions in medical college, and they said now he's almost 95% liver is damaged and we can't help him. And he was brought to me as a last resort. He even couldn't be brought to my clinic that time. My clinic was on first floor, so they said we don't have wheelchair or no facility to bring. So I attended him in car. And that time, really, I couldn't take the case because he was almost in a comatose condition. And looking at our homeopathy and this, they said, fine, you give something if you can, otherwise leave it. And that time, Dr. B.D. Patel will be remembering that this Wilmer's Web, German company, used to give specific hipafungin, and this hipafungin was brought, and with that I gave him Lycopodium 30. This 3x and 6x and all are available now. Those days, so they were not available. And this person revived. He survived very nicely. Of course, those days the facility of assessing with sonography and all was not there, but clinically he became all right. He started sustaining food. His ascites got completely cured and he recovered well. He was a very famous Don from Latur. He was running the gambling club, and this helped. So Chelidonium 3x, Cardus marinus 2x, Chionanthus 3x, and in some cases even Berberis vulgaris also works well. So this is how we give drainage as Echinacea and Berberis aquifolium 3x along with constitutional remedies, because psoriasis is something which, you know, is no two patients are alike. They are altogether different. So definitely there will be varieties of things. So I think we should just conclude it here. Now let us give some scope for your question answers. That would be wonderful. And I'm really thankful to your team for giving me opportunity to have interaction with you people. Thank you so much.
Dr. Pachgaonkar, don't tell your team. It is our team. You are a part of now KQHDA.
I agree.